There is something ancient stirring in the collective unconscious of humanity, something that has always been there but rarely acknowledged in the noise of ordinary life. It is a feeling, barely whispered at first, that you were meant for something different. Not better, not superior, but different in the way a seed differs from the soil, in the way a question differs from an answer. This feeling does not make you special in the way the ego craves specialness. It makes you uncomfortable. It makes you alone. And in that aloneness, something begins to awaken that the world does not yet have a name for. This is not about being chosen by fate or marked by the gods. This is about the psychological reality of waking up inside a dream that everyone else is still sleeping through, and the terrible beauty of that awakening. From the very beginning, there were signs, not supernatural signs, not omens written in the stars, but the quiet, persistent sense that you saw things others did not see, felt things others did not feel. As a child, you may have noticed the sadness behind a smile, the tension humming beneath polite conversation, the unspoken rules that everyone followed without question. You absorbed the emotional weather of every room you entered. You could not help it. Your nervous system was tuned to a different frequency, picking up signals that others filtered out as noise. This was not a gift. It was a burden you did not ask for and could not set down. You learned early that the world moves at one speed and you move at another, that people speak one language and you speak another, and that no amount of effort would ever fully bridge that gap. If you felt the weight of this channel's reflections and want to continue this journey together, you're welcome here. Stay a while. Let's walk this path. The aloneness that followed was not the absence of people. You could be surrounded by family, by friends, by noise and activity, and still feel like a ghost moving through their world. The aloneness was existential. It was a recognition that no one could truly see you, not because they were cruel or indifferent, but because they were not looking in the direction you were looking. They were engaged with the surface of life, the tasks and roles and identities that society handed them, and you were somewhere beneath that surface, asking questions that had no easy answers. Why do we pretend? Why do we perform? Why does everyone seem so certain about things that feel so uncertain? These questions isolated you further, because to ask them aloud was to risk being labeled strange, difficult, too sensitive, too serious. So you learned to keep them inside. You learned to wear the mask, to play the part, to move through the world as if you belonged, all while knowing that some essential part of you was elsewhere, watching, waiting, wondering. This waiting was not passive. It was the tension of a bowstring pulled back, the pressure building in the earth before an earthquake. You were holding something that wanted to be released, but you did not yet know what it was or how to release it. You only knew that the life everyone else seemed to accept so easily felt like a lie you could not bring yourself to tell. And so you withdrew, not always physically, though sometimes that too, but inwardly you withdrew into books, into nature, into silence, into whatever gave you space to breathe and think and feel without the constant demand to perform normalcy. This withdrawal was necessary. It was the chrysalis stage, the descent into the underworld, the dark night that every mythological hero must endure before the transformation begins. But it did not feel mythological. It felt like failure. It felt like something was wrong with you, broken in you, missing from you that everyone else seemed to have been given. What you did not know then, what perhaps you are only beginning to understand now, is that this feeling of wrongness was not a diagnosis. It was an initiation. The people we now look back on as visionaries, as wisdom keepers, as those who shifted the course of human thought, were often the ones who felt most alien in their own time. They were not chosen by external forces. They were called by internal ones, by a voice that would not be silenced, by a vision that would not fade, by a moral clarity that made the compromises of ordinary life unbearable. This is not about being better. It is about being unable to unsee what you've seen, unable to unknow what you've come to know. And once that threshold is crossed, there is no going back to comfortable ignorance. There is only forward, into the unknown, into the uncertainty, into the fire. The fire is not metaphorical. It is the burning away of everything false, everything borrowed, everything you thought you were supposed to be. It is the confrontation with your own shadow, with the parts of yourself you have denied and hidden and projected onto others. Because the journey of awakening is not an ascent into light. It is a descent into darkness first, into the caverns of your own psyche where the demons live. where the wounds fester, where the truth waits in all its terrible simplicity. You cannot skip this part. You cannot bypass the shadow and arrive at enlightenment. Every spiritual tradition, every depth psychologist, every mythological cycle tells the same story. The hero must face the dragon. The seeker must enter the cave. The soul must be tested by its own capacity for honesty, for humility, for sitting with what is rather than what should be. And the test is not external. No one has come and measure you, to judge you, to certify that you have passed some cosmic exam. The test is internal. It is whether you can look at your own anger, your own fear, your own pettiness and pride, and still choose to act with integrity. It is whether you can see the ways you hurt others, the ways you've been complicit in systems of harm, the ways your own pain has spilled over and wounded those around you, and still choose to take responsibility rather than deflect blame. This is the moment when the idea of being chosen falls apart. Because if you are truly awake, truly aware, you cannot hide behind the ego's fantasy of specialness. You must see yourself as you are, flawed and human and struggling, and choose to grow anyway. Not because you are destined for greatness, but because growth is the only response to awareness that does not lead to deeper suffering. The world does not reward this kind of inner work. It does not give you a trophy for facing your shadow. It does not applaud when you choose the harder right over the easier wrong. In fact, the world often punishes it. You will lose friends who cannot understand why you have changed. You will lose opportunities because you refuse to compromise your values. You will be misunderstood, misrepresented, perhaps even vilified by those who feel threatened by the mirror you hold up simply by existing in your truth. This is the loneliest part of the journey, the part where you realize that integrity is its own reward and its own cost. You are not doing this for recognition. You are doing this because you cannot do otherwise and still live with yourself. The internal compass has been calibrated, and now it points only in one direction, regardless of where the crowd is heading. But here is where the narrative shifts, where the ancient myths offer their deepest wisdom. The chosen one archetype, when understood symbolically rather than literally, is not about being selected by fate for a special mission. It is about the universal human potential to wake up from the collective trance, to see through the illusions that keep most people locked in patterns of unconsciousness, and to choose, moment by moment, to live from a place of deeper awareness. Every human being has this potential. Every human being is called, in their own way, in their own time. Some answer the call. Most do not. And there is no judgment in that. The call is not an obligation. It is an invitation. And those who accept it do so not because they are better, but because something in them could not refuse, could not turn away, could not continue sleepwalking when an alarm had already sounded. If these reflections resonate with something deep in you, consider walking this road with us. There's more to explore, and you're not alone in the questions. The price of this awakening is the loss of innocence. You can no longer participate in the comfortable lies that make social life smooth and predictable. You can no longer pretend not to see the suffering beneath the surface, the injustice baked into the systems we inherit, the quiet cruelties we normalize because naming them would require change. And change is terrifying. Change demands that we let go of who we thought we were, what we thought we knew, the world we thought we lived in. It demands that we grieve the loss of the simpler story, the easier path, the version of life where you could just go along to get along. But once you have tasted the fruit of awareness, there is no going back to the garden of ignorance. You are exiled now, wandering in a wilderness of your own making, searching for something you cannot name but will recognize when you find it. This wilderness is where the real work happens. It is where you learn that spiritual awakening is not a peak experience, not a moment of enlightenment that solves all your problems and elevates you above the human condition. It is a process, slow and often painful, of becoming more fully yourself, more fully human, more fully present to reality of this moment and this life. It is learning to sit with discomfort without numbing. It is learning to feel your feelings without being ruled by them. It is learning to think critically without becoming cynical. It is learning to love deeply without losing yourself. It is learning to hold your convictions strongly while remaining open to being wrong. These are not mystical attainments. They are psychological skills, emotional capacities, ethical muscles that must be trained over years and decades. They are the real magic, the real transformation, the real gold that the alchemists spoke of when they described turning lead into something precious. And as you do this work, as you stumble and fall and get back up and try again, something shifts in the field around you. People begin to sense that you are different, not because you announce it, not because you wear it like a badge, but because authenticity has a frequency that cuts through the static of performance. Some will be drawn to you, seeking the same thing you sought when you first began to wake up. They will ask questions, sometimes without words, and you will find yourself offering what you have learned, not as a teacher, but as a fellow traveler who has walked a little further down the path. This is not a role you sought. It is a responsibility that comes with awareness. Because when you see clearly, you cannot let others stumble in darkness without at least pointing toward the light you have found. But you must do so with humility, always remembering that your light is not the only light, your path is not the only path, and your truth is not the whole truth. Others will recoil from you. They will sense the unspoken challenge your presence represents, the question your life asks of theirs. You do not even have to speak. Your refusal to participate in the charade is enough. Your insistence on living according to your values, even when it costs you, is a judgment they feel even if you intend none. This is not your fault, but it is your reality. The awakened life is inherently disruptive to systems that depend on unconsciousness to function. And those systems, whether they are families or institutions or entire societies, will resist you. They will try to pull you back into line, to shame you into conformity, to punish you for breaking ranks. And if they cannot do that, they will try to ignore you, to marginalize you, to pretend you do not exist. This is the crucible. This is where you discover whether your awakening is real or just another ego trip. Because if you cannot stand alone, if you need the approval of the crowd to feel valid, then you have not yet truly woken up. You have just traded one set of illusions for another. The deepest teaching of the chosen one archetype is that you are not chosen for glory. You are chosen for service. And the service is not to some grand cosmic plan. It is to the truth, to integrity, to the slow, unglamorous work of becoming a little more conscious, a little more compassionate, a little more honest each day. It is to the people around you who are suffering and do not know why, who are searching and do not know what they are searching for, who are lost in the same wilderness you once wandered. Your awakening is not for you alone. It is a gift you must give back, not because you owe anyone, but because that is what consciousness does. It spreads. It illuminates. It cannot help but shine, even in the smallest, quietest ways. But the spreading is not always gentle. Sometimes consciousness arrives like a flood, like a fire, like a reckoning. The title of this reflection speaks of a clan in panic, of justice catching up, of a whole city paying the price. These are not literal events, but symbolic ones, pointing to the inevitable consequences that follow when systems built on lies begin to collapse under the weight of their own contradictions. Every empire falls. Every illusion shatters. Every house built on sand eventually washes away. This is not punishment from above. This is simply the way reality works. Unsustainability is unsustainable. Injustice breeds its own destruction. And those who have awakened, those who saw the cracks forming long before the walls came down, are often the ones left to navigate the rubble, to help others make sense of what happened, to hold space for the grief and confusion and rage that follows collective disillusionment. This is not a role you asked for, but it is the one you are in by virtue of having seen what you have seen, by virtue of having done the inner work when it would have been easy to look away. The clan that panics is a collective ego, the part of the culture that cannot face its own shadow, that cannot admit its own complicity, that would rather burn everything down than acknowledge that it was wrong. And the justice that catches them is not divine retribution, but natural consequence, the universe's way of restoring balance, the pendulum swinging back after being held too long in one direction. You did not cause this, but you are here for it. And what you do with your awareness, how you respond to the chaos, whether you meet it with compassion or cruelty, with wisdom or vengeance, will determine what comes next, not just for you, but for everyone whose life touches yours. The city that pays the price is a collective psyche, the shared reality we all inhabit, the world we have built together through our choices and our silences. When the reckoning comes, no one is untouched. The innocent suffer alongside the guilty. The awake grieve alongside the asleep. This is the tragedy of interconnection, the reality that we are all in this together, that there's no escape into private enlightenment, no opting out of collective karma. You can wake up. You can do your work. You can live with integrity. But you cannot insulate yourself from the consequences of a world that has not yet woken up. You are still here, still breathing this air, still drinking this water, still walking this earth. And so the question becomes not how to transcend the mess, but how to be present to it, how to hold both the beauty and the horror, how to act from love even when surrounded by fear. This is a final initiation, the one that never ends. It is learning to live in the paradox, to hold the tension between what is and what could be, to work for change without attachment to outcome, to care deeply without being destroyed by caring. It is a razor's edge, the narrow path, the middle way that every wisdom tradition points toward but cannot walk for you. You must find your own balance. You must discover your own rhythm. You must learn when to speak and when to be silent, when to act and when to wait, when to fight and when to surrender. There is no manual for this. There are only principles, and you must apply them in the unique context of your own life, your own relationships, your own moment in history. And in the applying, in the daily practice of choosing awareness over autopilot, integrity over convenience, compassion over judgment, you become something you were not before. Not chosen, not special, not enlightened in some final, permanent way, but more human, more real, more present, more able to meet life as it is rather than as you wish it were. This is a true awakening, the one that does not separate you from the world, but connects you more deeply to it, that does not elevate you above others, but situates you more firmly among them, that does not grant you power over life, but reveals the power you already had, which is the power to respond, to choose, to shape your own consciousness even when you cannot shape the world. The panic of the clan is the panic of the false self realizing it is false. The justice that catches him is a truth, asserting itself despite all efforts to suppress it. The price the city pays is a cost of transformation, the necessary destruction that precedes every rebirth. You are not outside this process. You are in it, of it, participating in it, whether you want to or not. The only question is whether you will do so consciously or unconsciously, whether you will be a force for healing or for harm, whether you will use your awareness to build bridges or to build walls. And here's what the ancient stories know, what depth psychology confirms, what your own experience has probably already taught you. The hero's journey does not end in triumph. It ends in return. The seeker does not escape the world. The seeker comes back to it, transformed, carrying a gift, a medicine, a vision that might help others find their way. But the return is harder than the departure, because the world has not changed just because you have. The same systems are still in place. The same patterns are still playing out. The same people are still asleep. And you must find a way to live among them without losing what you have gained, without becoming bitter or superior or disengaged. This requires a kind of strength that our culture does not celebrate, a kind of heroism that has nothing to do with conquest and everything to do with endurance. It is a strength to keep your heart open when everything around you is closing down. It is a heroism to stay vulnerable in a world that rewards armor. It is a commitment to keep showing up, keep trying, keep offering what you have to offer even when it feels like no one is listening, even when the feedback you get is rejection or indifference or hostility. This is a real test, not the dramatic trials, not the peak experiences, but the grinding dailiness of living a conscious life in an unconscious world. There will be moments when you doubt everything, moments when you wonder if you were wrong all along, if the awakening was just another story you told yourself, if the chosen one narrative was just spiritual ego dressed up in mythological clothing. These doubts are not a sign that you have failed. They are a sign that you are honest. They are the immune system of the psyche, protecting you from inflating, from believing your own hype, from mistaking the map for the territory. Welcome the doubts. Sit with them. Let them strip away whatever is false, whatever is borrowed, whatever you are clinging to out of fear rather than truth. What remains after the doubt has done its work is what is real in you, what is yours, what cannot be taken away because it was never given by anyone else. And what is real in you is also real in everyone else. That is the great secret, the one the ego cannot bear to hear. You are not special. You are universal. The depth you have discovered in yourself is the same depth that exists in every human being, whether they have accessed it or not. The awareness you have cultivated is the same awareness available to anyone who is willing to do the work. The chosen one is everyone and no one, an archetype we all carry, a potential we all possess, a journey we are all invited to take even if most decline the invitation. Your responsibility is not to be the chosen one. Your responsibility is to live in such a way that others might recognize their own chosenness, their own potential, their own calling to wake up and participate more fully in the miracle of existence. As we come toward the end of this reflection, I want to invite you to stay curious, to keep questioning, to continue this exploration with us if it serves you. There's always more to uncover. The path forward is not about arriving somewhere. It is about walking with increasing awareness, increasing integrity, increasing compassion. It is about making peace with the fact that you will never have all the answers, that you will continue to make mistakes, that the work of becoming conscious is the work of a lifetime and maybe many lifetimes beyond. It is about letting go of the fantasy of perfection and embracing the reality of growth, the messy, non-linear, 2 steps forward, 1 step back process of becoming more fully human. And in that becoming, in that ongoing transformation, you serve not by being extraordinary, but by being authentic to yourself, by offering your unique gifts in your unique way to a world that needs every bit of consciousness it can get. The justice that is spoken of in this reflection is not revenge. It is restoration. It is the rebalancing of scales that have been tipped too long in one direction. It is the truth emerging from beneath layers of denial and distortion. And the price that is paid is not punishment, but consequence. The natural result of actions taken and not taken, of choices made and avoided, of systems perpetuated and resisted. You cannot control the larger forces at work, but you can control your own response. You can choose to meet the moment with clarity rather than confusion, with courage rather than cowardice, with love rather than fear. And in that choosing, in that moment-by-moment decision to align with your deepest values, you become a force for healing in a wounded world. The clan that panics is not your enemy. It is a part of all of us that resists change, that clings to familiar even when the familiar is killing us. Have compassion for it. It is terrified. It is losing everything it thought was solid, everything it built its identity upon. And in that terror, it will lash out, it will blame, it will try to drag everyone down with it. Do not meet panic with more panic. Meet it with presence. Meet it with the groundedness you have cultivated through your own inner work. Be the calm in the storm, not because you are above the storm, but because you have learned to find stillness within it. And when the dust settles, when the immediate crisis passes, when the intensity of the moment fades into the ordinary rhythm of days and weeks and months, do not mistake the return of normalcy for the end of the journey. There is no end. There is only deepening, only refinement, only the ongoing practice of showing up, paying attention, telling the truth, and releasing attachment to outcomes. This is a spiritual life stripped of all romanticism, all grandiosity, all fantasy. It is ordinary magic. It is the sacred hidden in the mundane. It is the divine expressed through the fully human. So here's the final offering, the closing wisdom of this long reflection. You are not chosen by anything outside yourself. You are called by something within yourself, something that has always been there, waiting for you to notice, to listen, to respond. That call does not make you special. It makes you responsible. Responsible for your own consciousness. Responsible for your own choices. Responsible for the impact you have, intended or not, on the world around you. This responsibility is not a burden to bear alone. It is a gift to share, a light to pass on, a story to tell so that others might recognize themselves in it and begin their own journey of awakening. The chosen one is not a person. It is a process. It is a universal human capacity to evolve beyond conditioning, to question inherited beliefs, to forge a path of integrity in a world that often rewards compromise. It is available to everyone. It is happening in small ways all around you. In every moment, someone chooses honesty over convenience, compassion over cruelty, awareness over distraction. You are part of that larger movement, that slow, tectonic shift in collective consciousness that happens not through grand gestures, but through a million small acts of courage and kindness and truth-telling. So walk gently, Walk humbly. Walk with your eyes open and your heart available. Do not wait for permission to be who you are. Do not wait for recognition to do what you know is right. Do not wait for the world to change before you change yourself. The time is always now. The place is always here. The person who can make a difference is always you. Not because you are chosen, but because you are awake. And awakeness always acts, always responds, always participates in the healing and transformation of whatever it touches. That is enough. That has always been enough. May you walk your path with clarity, with courage, and with a deep knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, becoming exactly who you were always meant to become.